Videos like this are made possible by viewers like you. New Age is an awful mess, and I say that as a fan of its tangled mythology and unnecessarily melodramatic prose. So, in service of straightening out some of New Age spirituality's stranger inner workings, in this video I'm going to unpack New Age spirituality's take what resonates game of hot potato between individualism and oneness, and also highlight how New Age spirituality is a little bit of a crock of hypocrisy. Let's talk about this. Hello everyone, if you're new here, I'm Andy Fellows and I make videos on cult, skepticism and making sense of life after New Age spirituality. If you're interested in a more skeptical and grounded approach to New Age spirituality, then why not subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. So we've talked before about how there's this tendency in the New Age to be very anti-science unless the science is sort of backing up something that you already believe, right? A lot of iffy science is thrown around and a lot of names of specific popular science voices are held up as bastions of truth in a world where actual scientists aren't necessarily charismatic enough to always capture your imagination. But what we haven't talked about is how deep this sort of internal inconsistency within the broader New Age worldview actually goes. Quick note, what I'm sharing in this video is based on my own personal experience. Yours may be different. If it is, let's have an intellectually honest dialogue in the comments rather than a pissing contest, please and thank you. Individualistic oneness. One of the pillars of New Age spirituality is the take what resonates maxim, which is effectively an invitation to pay attention to what makes you feel good, to what fits in with what you already believe and or what you want to be true. It's a postmodern approach to truth wherein all truth is subjective and yet some things are true and also some things aren't true. Consistency isn't New Age spirituality's strong suit. Too thinky. And rather than getting bogged down in the thinky brain pains, New Agers instead tend to opt for another way to discern truth from fiction. Forget about thinking about stuff. This is the church of vibes. Style over substance is the law of the land here. Here, in the church of vibes, we use our intuition. Intuition, however, is somewhat disingenuously and nebulously defined. Rather than the gut feeling that you or I might associate with smelling gone-off food or seeing a suspicious-looking hooded stranger, New Age spirituality considers intuition to be something else entirely. Intuition is a skill. It's something that can be honed and hindered. Food and drink, too much TV, a lack of meditation or exercise, all of these things are seen as causes for reduced spiritual insight, or at least potential causes for reduced spiritual insight. If you're particularly insightful, if you're particularly intuitive, you probably could get away with doing those things as long as you assert it confidently enough. This kind of always-on spiritual insight is further mystified by talk of spiritual awakening and third eye activation and, you know, the various abilities that come with being an indigo, starseed, soul fork, soul braid from the Pleiades cluster with 1 foot in the 5th dimension and a penchant for, you know, compulsive lying. How developed a person's intuition is in the eyes of other New Agers can be charted by how open-minded a person is and how much their lifestyle and their beliefs reflects that of basically every other New Ager. Effectively, it comes down to whether or not you believe certain core ideas or, you know, truths about reality. And also, don't forget that we're in style over substance land here, so the actual truth of the ideas doesn't matter. It doesn't factor into this conversation at all. For example, if you don't believe in the law of attraction, the fact that it's at best pseudoscientific nonsense and at worst unfounded license for your OCD to fucking go off doesn't matter. If you don't believe in the law of attraction, you're in victim vibration and you haven't realized we're all powerful creators. Herein, on paper, truth is subjective, but in reality, it's anything but. In reality, it's decided by consensus. Inside the New Age, the consensus truth is sort of cobbled onto over time. So aliens exist now. That's just a fact. Also, they communicate through channeling. That's also a fact, right? That's just a given in the New Age. Also now, as the Great Merging is underway, basically everything in QAnon land and New Age land are equally considered true by New Agers. All of these things like crystal healing, energy healing, astral projection, aliens existing and communicating through channeling, all of these things are considered true by the majority of New Agers. And if you're sufficiently, conscious and awakened, then you'll see it too. You'll realize how true this stuff is. Now, while we're on being awakened and conscious, let's just take a second to talk about the idea of evolution of consciousness and how it is seen as an upward spiral by a lot of New Agers. The eventual awakening of all of humanity is treated as an inevitability, and you, as a New Ager, you're at the cutting edge, and all these other muggles, well, they're playing catch up. So leaving aside the whole ancient aliens thing and how some New Agers do believe that we're effectively the slave species of an alien race that have been created to find Zechariah Sitchin's whole sort of 12th planet thing, right? Leaving that aside for a second, what strikes me about this idea of evolution being a sort of upward spiral and the inevitable awakening of all humans is that it seems to borrow a little bit from this idea of like humans being the most evolved species on the planet, even though we're not that, not really. So we have complex brains, right, which have enabled us to have a different skill set to other animals, and we think that our skill set is better, right? The painter thinks that their brushes and paint are better tools than the blacksmith's hammer if they don't realize, different tools, different jobs. We're kind of the stupid painter right now, right? Or at least those of us that believe humans are like the best thing on the planet. We're not the best thing. Have you seen what we're doing to the planet? So that's not exactly evidence that we're not the most evolved species on the planet. Regardless, we're not the most evolved species on the planet as far as I know. Every other species is as evolved as we are. They're just evolved in a different way. They've adapted to different conditions, right? Each of us have our own skill sets which have allowed us to survive thus far. And the way we're using our skill set seems to be poised to not allow us to survive very much further. But I digress. This idea that we're the best thing ever is like the cherry on the cake of evolution equals progress, right? Along with this idea that the spiritual evolution of humanity means that we're eventually all going to wake up to the reality that we're all beings of light and blah, blah, blah. But to quote John Michael Greer, evolution does not mean progress. Evolution is the adaptation to consequences. That's all. So the implication of this spiritual evolution, despite it being talked about as such, really isn't one of progress. It's one of adaptation to conditions. It's really more about believing you have all the answers when you clearly don't. It's more about being docile and ignorant of real world problems and being super chill all the time and talking in a super blissed out voice. At least until someone levels some genuine criticism at your worldview, and then, it's time to get salty in the comments. Still, that doesn't stop New Agers talking about how the evolution of consciousness is some inevitable improvement in the way that we see things, when really to evolve is to adapt. So come on. Anyway, naturally, this quest to develop your intuition dovetails quite nicely with the countless courses and books and retreats and workshops available to help you develop your intuition, to help you unlock your true potential. In the search for some truly transformative experience and in the pursuit of deep, profound spiritual knowledge, in earnest, shallow pockets tend to end up lining deeper ones. A more accurate way to state this take what resonates approach might well be, I, and many other people who talk and act like me, believe that all things are possible, and if those truths resonate with you, then you can take them, believe in them, and experience them for yourself. In one sense, it's this claim that truth is relative, and in another sense, it's about more being possible than you could ever have imagined. And whether this more is possible in, our genuine shared reality, and why people believe that it is, why it's being asserted as it is, it's not questioned, it's not brought into question. Instead, it's merely stated as a potential, as an opportunity for discovery, as a potential avenue for discovery for you. I swear QAnon and the New Age are made for each other. Again, don't worry about the verifiable truth of any of these things, and forget trying to have a genuine, intelligent conversation with a New Ager about why they believe what they believe. Trust me, I've been on the other side of that. As a New Ager, I didn't know why I believed what I believed. Again, it's style over substance. If you're enjoying this video, by the way, please hit the like button. In a sort of, I do believe in fairies kind of a way, this is a setting yourself apart from others on your own personal quest for your own personal truth. And baked into this is the assertion that these things are both true and untrue, possible and impossible. The limit then is your imagination and your capacity to suspend your disbelief for long enough to experience the boundless. Of course, that also hinges on whether or not that is a good way to experience anything that you wouldn't normally experience, whether anything is going to happen when you do that. But while the assertion appears to portray limitless possibility, that possibility is bounded by the willingness of the individual to quote another popular New Age maxim, think less and feel more. And here we come full circle. We come back to what resonates and back to the power of your intuition to determine truth from fiction. A power believed to be hindered or bolstered by how much a person is doing, believing, living in a way that is good, high vibrational, or bad, low vibrational. It is painfully circular, and the sheer volume of contradictions is honestly baffling. I'm Andy Fellows. I'm here pretty much every Thursday. Please subscribe to the channel if you want to see more from me on a more skeptical approach to New Age spirituality and cults and skepticism in general. If you want to help support the channel, the absolute best way to do that is through Patreon. There's a link to that in the description, and there's all kinds of cool perks that I've set up, including discounts for cool merchandise. Check these out. Fucking love these. Otherwise, please be kind and ask good questions, and I'll see you in the next one.